Hello. Hello, hello. Okay. I hope this works out. Anyways, welcome back. Welcome to my channel. I'm so happy that you're here. I hope you click like, subscribe, and share, and that you drop a comment in the comment section. And I think you will have to be a subscriber for a certain amount of time before you're able to subscribe. So in this live, I want to get into um the week ahead, and not just the week ahead, but generally speaking, the energies that we're encountering right now. And we're going through a lot. So I'm going to be picking up 6 topics that I feel show the trajectory of what's going on and what's happening. And whoa, my angels are flying. It's like everything's so a little chaotic here on my desk, but whatever. So, anyways, 6 topics that we'll be going through, but I'll also be answering your questions. So, if you have any personal questions about your week ahead, about things coming up for you, don't hesitate. Go right ahead. You'll see the link is posted in the chat box and it's all the way at the top. It's pinned to the top. So, if you have a question, there's anything you want to know about yourself, your life, your week ahead, your month ahead, just post it in the chat. Well, no, click the link in the chat and I will get to answering your question after I've gone through these 6 things that we're going to be looking at. Hola, chica, ¿cómo estás, Elena? Hi, Maria. So, the first thing I want to start off with is whoa, what happened last week and the pew-pewing in the United States of that poor woman that was driving away in her truck. And this being excused as self-defense when everyone could see on literally on the videos that were released, even the one that they released to try and back the person, the tape that was released of this guy's body cam. I have to be so careful how I word this on YouTube. Yeah. Anyways, but I don't care. Let me speak for it. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. So, anyways, for those of you that were under a rock or somewhere far, far away, and you didn't see what happened in Minneapolis last week with repercussions to today, where people are throwing snowballs at hotels where they think that ICE agents are staying at. People are really trying to stand up. There's this TikTok I came across about this guy at a whole group of people harassing ICE agents at, well, not harassing, calling them out at a gas station as they were trying to find out if an Ethiopian citizen was a naturalized citizen or a citizen. So they're starting to make that differentiation now, right? So that's wild because then when you get to that point, what is your citizenship worth? When you get to that point, what is your citizenship worth? So what happened apparently was ICE was rolling down the street in Minneapolis, and this reports vary. The one side says that this lady was there to antagonize ICE agents and call them out. Other people say she lived on that street, like she was literally leaving to go pick up her kids from school. And she ended up getting into it with ICE agents, just shooting back and forth. And her partner, her wife, especially, her wife got out of the car to film what was going on because she thought, oh, this is wild. Like she couldn't believe it. This was happening right in front of her doorstep. And she got into it with an ICE agent that told her to drive away, to get in the car and drive away. So they were just about to drive away. And this ICE agent, which I thought was really strange watching the video, because the point is that he was supposedly about to be run over by this woman. But if you watch the video, you see him not jumping away, which would be a normal body reflex to jump away from a moving car. Try it. Try it. Ask your kid, ask your husband, ask your partner to back out of the driveway and stand in the way and now lean into the car if you're afraid that the car is going to hit you. Your body won't even let you make that decision. You're going to automatically go, whoa, and jump back, right? But he steps into the car. He moves towards the car because he knows she's not driving away. And without his second thought, without even thinking about it, without anything, bop, bop, and off she goes. That was it, right in her face. So I am outraged. I am absolutely outraged because the level of misogyny, the level of hatred, the unnecessariness, because even if somebody is fleeing the police, it doesn't like this is not an automatic um, what do you call it, right to take that person's life. Like, that's insane. He could have shot the tires, he could have shot into the engine. Why did it have to be in her face for such a small infraction? And we know what happened when we look at the videos because we can see, and I'm not going to play them here, look them up, they're all over. But we can see her wife saying to the guy, "Come on, little boy, go, go eat something, have some lunch or something like that." And she wasn't even that mean, but he felt it. Now, the interesting thing is that he himself is married to an immigrant, right? He himself is married to an immigrant. So what is this topic happening about immigrants in the United States? Like, where is this rationale all of a sudden, this thinking all of a sudden come, this concept, right? Of if you're white, then you're not an immigrant. You don't have to prove that you belong there. Are we there now? Are we serious about this? So and this is just, a sign of what is happening, not just in the US, but worldwide. So if we go through various countries, whether we're looking at Japan, whether we're looking at countries in Europe, this is just a sign. It's just a symbol of what is to come. And I'm going to go into that when we talk about the rise of authoritarianism and the 3 or 4 points, like very general speaking points of why authoritarianism is rising. But I had to speak about that because that just blew my mind. And then right after that happened, there were more shootings in the US, in Oregon, was it? Or Washington State, one of those. And then after that, there have been now 11 mass shootings in the US, and we're only 10 days in. Well, 11 days in today. Okay, 11 days in. But there have been more mass shootings in the US than we have actually had days in the year. This is not normal, you guys. This is absolutely not normal. And we don't hear about mass shootings in other countries. Of course, they happen in other countries, I guess. Really? But not like to this extent. We don't hear about it. Like in Germany, we don't have mass shootings here in that sense. I think we had one years ago and it was like a nightmare. But mass stabbings, like but we have stricter gun laws, so knives are easier to get to. So there have been a couple of those, but not to the extent of the United States. So we're gonna have a look at Renee. We're gonna have a look at this. Her name was Renee Nicole Good. And I also put up a TikTok the day I heard about it because I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. And I thought, all the TikToks that I've been doing on the past, on history, on German history, and how this is repeating. And not only are they taking a page out of German history books, but they're taking a page out of colonialism history books. They're taking a page out of East Asian history books. Like it's like they're siphoning all the knowledge how to control a people and building it faster than you guys are processing in the US what is happening and what is going on. And but literally this has happened. We know this has happened in Germany, right? We know this has happened in Germany. So there's there's a literal parallel. And but they did a great job in the US of dividing and conquering, fantastic job because people identify with their status and their money and their state of living so much that they can't overcome that to unite with someone else to stop this from happening. So, I mean, it's fantastic. So we'll dive into the what's happening, the rise of authoritarianism. We'll dive into uh what is this? Trump and Greenland. We're going to have a look at that too. Are they going to take over Greenland? It's likely. We'll look at Crans, Montana in just a second. France. One of the things I saw coming up for January that I previewed that I said in the January video, I don't know where exactly. I just remember I said it. So if anybody watched it and knows where I said it exactly, that would be great. Is that there would be some kind of protest or uprising because I saw that happening in Europe, right? And there actually is, yeah. There are farmers on the street in Ireland and France, I think in Poland as well. And at the time, it felt like one of those Balkan uprisings because there was a little bit of a wild card factor to it. Well, yeah, when French farmers drive up into Paris and start spraying manure and cow blood in protest to what is happening. So we're going to look into that for a second, and female regression, right? The rights of women globally are regressing. I feel like, these are heavy topics, but we're living in heavy times. And this is what we're here for, right? This is what we're here for. In my past lives, I was definitely a soldier. I was 100%. I was some kind of a military person. I know that it's in my chart, so on and so forth. And I really feel that now is the time to stand your ground and to stand up, right? Now is not the time to escape somewhere. There's also nowhere to escape to if you haven't noticed. And so maybe that's a hint from the universe. We've taken all your options of escape. So maybe we should sit and look at this and deal with this. Because make no mistake that all of what is happening is a part of us. It's a part of what we contributed to the whole, right? As that saying goes, a butterfly flaps its wings in Brazil and a bag of rice falls over in China. So even if you think that, oh, I have nothing to do with this has nothing to do with me. What are the thoughts that you entertain on a consistent basis? How are the relationships that you lead on a consistent basis? Because all that contributes to the energies that are strengthened on a consistent basis, which then leads to thoughts that are generated and more consciousness streams that are enacted and developed. So each one of us is in one way or another pouring into this. Now, Krishnamurti spoke about this a lot. Thich Nhat Hanh spoke about this a lot. um, how we all contribute to what's happening, but nobody really wants to take responsibility for it because we think I live in my own little bubble and what goes on here is all private. Nobody can see me. But what we're finding out more and more is that it's a field. It's a complete field that our thoughts are not our own, but we attract the thoughts based on our vibration and frequency, and then we manifest those thoughts or live those thoughts out. But the thoughts have their own life cycle, and if they don't come to you, they go to someone else. So that is why we also have shared experiences, right? We have shared experiences because, or shared thoughts about things, because these thoughts are not just our own, right? So one thought can also show up somewhere else at the same time. As the saying goes, when a thought's time has come, it will find its way to manifest itself. And we have enough examples of that. So let me roll it back, and we'll dive into the cards for each one of those topics. And I'll try to make it quick and get to the point right away so I can get to your questions. If you have another topic that you want to look into, please post it in the chat and we'll dive right in. But otherwise, let me start with what I started with, which was Renee, Nicole. Good. So some people think this is a psyop. Okay, it's a psyop in order to push the people in a certain direction, and we've seen that happen numerous times. So it's not something that is completely out of the realm of possibility. But so I'm going to look into the cards to see if that's it. It is very emotionally triggering for a lot of people. So if it is a psyop, it worked. And it's to push, especially the American people, out of their apathy, out of their complacency. And what they need to have happen is a revolution from within. America needs to collapse from within. It is too strong. There is no one country. It would have to be multiple countries attacking the US at once, simultaneously, over a long period of time to break it down from the outside. It's not going to happen. But the quickest way for that to happen is for America to implode, to completely collapse from within. And this has been done for decades, has been worked on with all kinds of agents. And if you're watching me, then I'm sure you've seen the videos of, for example, Russian agents stating that they'd infiltrated American universities, changed ideas and concepts slowly over time, to make people believe things that weren't true. And once they believe something, it's really hard to let go of that belief because it's harder to, it's easier to fool people, right, than to convince them that they've been fooled, or however that saying goes. So this has been going on for a long time. And they need this to happen in order to implement certain structures that they want to have implemented, authoritarian structures, clearly, right? And I've been speaking about that for years because I said way back when that there's no way the American elections can be legit. You can't just have two parties and call that a democracy. That's like wild, right? And then you're not even really voting for the people that are in places of power. You're voting for the team that then votes for the people that are in places of power. Again, not a democracy. On top of that, this is the best you have to offer American people, like 380 to 450 million people. These are the two best candidates that you have, are like one foot in the grave. Are you serious? And so there's something quite off for a long time, and eventually I realized that it's because they want people disillusioned with the system. Because when the people are disillusioned with the system, they can't put a new system on the people. They can't put a new system on the people and have that work. It's not going to work. And they don't have the power, they don't have the manpower to enforce that. So they need to create conditions where the people themselves ask and beg for change, any kind of change, because it's so bad that anything better would be better. And then they can sweep in and say, look, this is the only way we can go. This is the only solution that we have. This is the pathway that you have to go down. And that's what we're watching right now. What we're watching right now. People are getting so disillusioned with democracy because they're realizing it's all fake. They're realizing it doesn't work. And even the most hardened, most entrenched person, people that used to believe in the system in the US, they're slowly realizing that this is not it. This is not it. And at the same time, right? And we'll get into that with the rise of authoritarianism. There is that rise of authoritarianism saying we have the solution. Please, let us just take care of it and handle it. Anyhow, back to Renee Nicole Good. Let me stay on track here, one step at a time. So, is this part of the plan to bring the US to its knees through an inner revolution? Because if the US successfully pulls off a revolt, then that would wipe out the Constitution. They'd have to rewrite it. They'd have to create something new, different, more amended to the times. And I mean, look at who wrote the Constitution, right? Who wrote the Constitution? These were people that owned slaves back in the day. They were, I think the youngest one was 19 or 22, right? So the most part, they were under 30s. They were, it was a fresh new dawn of a new era. Like the whole imprint in history hadn't happened yet. And so they're going to need new rules moving forward. And they haven't stated yet because the American identity is built on this Constitution, that it's outdated, that it needs to be revamped and revised, and it doesn't work into the world that we're moving into, like it or not. So they can't say that yet because that would really, push things too far before they're ready. But that's what it's running out to. And in that case, you guys will have Trump for a third term. You will. You will. So let's see. Renee Nicole Good, because, and this is what I spoke about with other people too, like the back in 2020 to 2023, it was so clear that everything was prepared for revolts and revolutions. They had prepared for that, that the people would stand up and go to certain lengths or extremes. They were prepared for peaceful protests, they were prepared for not peaceful protests. Same thing now, peaceful protests are not going to help. But if you get to the point of non-peaceful protest, forget it. Forget it, because that's exactly what they want. Gosh, I wonder if this video is going to stay up. Anyhow, um, let's have a look here. Renee Nicole Good. Renee. So, is she real, first of all? What is this? What happened here? What it is, what it isn't, the next step, the outcome, and the overall story. Yeah. They know that what triggers people the most is what we've got here is the Page of Wands and the Three of Swords. And what triggers people the most is Three of Swords energy, right? So heartbreak, um, really dramatic stuff. And we've got the Page of Wands, which is the messenger. So they're utilizing this event to send a message. Okay. What this is, it's part of the new nation building, Six of Stones, you can see here that a city is being built. This is the Six of Coins. So this does have to do with what I was just talking about, what we are just talking about, that this is part of the new era that is coming in, that is being built. Um, what this is not is the devil. And let me see the other cards to get clear on that. We've got the Ten of Wands, overburdened, overloaded, and the outcome is a new beginning, Ace of Coins. You guys, the story around Renee Nicole Good. What is this? There's a lot of obfuscation here and a lot of things that aren't being said. Seven of coins, cups. Seven of cups has to do with deception, has to do with diverse paths forward as well, making the right choice. How are we going to move forward from this? How are we going to utilize this? What are we going to make of this? What's the next step with this? And this will be used for nation building. Six of coins here. This will be used in some way, shape, or form. There's something heavy that is overhanging this whole thing, like carrying forward the past is too much, 10 of Wands. And it's about to go into a fall season, right? So this is the height of summer in this card, and it's about to go into fall and lead into winter. And the outcome is Ace of Coins. So this is an opportunity, but as you guys can tell, it's also a new beginning. It's a fresh new start, fresh new era, fresh new everything. It's not the devil. I want to say for initially my first impression when I saw the card is it's not it's not from the outside anything. This is pure human stuff, okay? And I also want to say it's not the Saturnian energies or the regulatory energies or ruling stuff. This is some other group or faction. This is some other group or faction. Yeah, this is deeper, much, 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 much deeper. Okay, so what I'm getting from these cards, I'll just sum it up in one sentence that this is from some other group or faction that is deeper than what we're observing. And that they themselves, their hands are tied as to what is being done, what is being initiated, what is being pushed forward. Okay, hope that made sense. If you have any questions to what I just said, post it in the chat and I'll try to explain it much better. But let's move on. And may she rest in peace. Let's move on. So that and the next topic I have is the Crans Montana bar. So for those of you that don't know or are unaware, let me share that with you here. Uh, duh, duh, duh. So in Switzerland on New Year's Eve, there was in this skiing resort town of Crans Montana, in this bar, 40 kids died in a bar fire. And it's everybody's trying to figure out how that happened or what even happened. And it was so apocalyptic. Let me share this with you. Oh, okay, let me share this with you. Okay, so for those of you that need to know where Crans, Montana is, it's right here. And let me scroll out. So it's just outside of Valais in the middle of Switzerland. So right in prime skiing area. And so what happened there was that it was apocalyptic. It was this huge fire that took out the bar, and 40 kids, 40 young people were killed by fire on New Year's Eve. They couldn't get out of the bar. Somehow the bar had caught fire. There were videos that the kids were taking and posting to TikTok, social media, and stuff like that when they still weren't taking the fire for real. And it started on the ceiling of the bar. So people think that maybe it came from those sparkly candles because they were carrying these sparkly candles around, and some of them hit the ceiling, and maybe that started the fire. They're supposed to have fire safe, what do you call it? My English is going because I've been hearing this in German all the time. But they were supposed to have fire safe insulation in the ceiling, and apparently it wasn't. So the wife of the owner, the co-owner, has apologized. It's just this whole horrible thing. Over 100 people ended up in the hospital. These are the owners. And so he has a pretty sketchy history. Apparently, of course, they're digging into that now to show how evil he was. But it's a whole sketchy story where it's just one of those things you think, right? You think that happened out of nowhere. But why would it happen nowadays? In why is this happening in 2025? So some people think that it was some kind of a sacrificial story, right? And so we're gonna have a look into that because that's what I'm all about, is looking behind the scenes, looking into the spiritual side of things, and looking, is there another angle to this from the energetic point of view? And it's interesting that we're going into the year of the fire horse, a very fiery year that is going to absolutely push things forward. By the way, I will be doing another channeling night on February 17th. Yes, the actual Chinese New Year, the Lunar New Year. So I'll post the link in the description box below this video if you want to be a part of that, because I'll be looking into your new year as well as the general new year again, like a lot deeper, and so on. But anyways, back to the Crans Montana night. It was absolutely horrendous, and people were shocked all over Europe. And yeah, it's something that has definitely left a mark on the beginning of this year. So 40 people left their lives in a fire in the year of the fire horse. Young people left their lives in a fire in the year of the fire horse at the beginning of this year, which is already going to be a year of all years. And let's have a look at what might have happened. So this one is saying that they don't think that they don't think that it was the sparkly candles that caused it. It had to be something else. Um, yeah, so this is just really digging into it and how Italy's responding, and they want to ban sparkly candles now inside closed areas and so on and so forth. And oh yeah, the emergency exit was locked, was closed. Like wild stuff was happening there. There was one exit, and all the other doors were closed, and nobody knows why. So let's have a look and see if there's anything behind that and the new beginning to this year and how it might affect the energies moving forward. And was this some kind of a something? Okay, I don't want to say ritual, but I'm pretty sure you're going to hear it on other channels as well. But let's see what this was, what it is, what it's not, the next step, the outcome, the overall energies. It's interesting because here we have the overall energies. The card that popped up is the Four of Wands. And the Four of Wands has to do with celebrations. It has to do with high life. And that's exactly what they were doing there. But is there more to this card? Let's have a look with the other ones. So this is the Nine of Swords. And the Nine of Swords definitely has to do with something that is weighing heavy. The Nine of Swords is so, the Nine of Swords for me is the personal sacrifice card. It is, right? It is. It is you staying up at night and worrying about things over and over and over again, like having that mental load. And most of the time we're in that state because we don't want to sacrifice what needs to be sacrificed. We don't want to give up what needs to be given up. We don't want to change what needs to be changed. We don't want to pay what needs to be paid. And so we get into that state and procrastinate and push and try to not do what the situation is calling for us to do, and we suffer, right? So we see here the suffering, we see here the uh, crazy amount of work that is being put into that situation right now and energies that are being put into it right now. But yes, there's a kind of an energy about that of yeah. And we even see the card that was chosen. It's got like fire at the top, right? Fire in the roof of the world. What it isn't, we've got the Ace of Wands. So this isn't new. It's not a first time. It's not a new beginning. The next step or what's likely to happen, the Hanged Man, not much for a while. And the outcome is more limitations and restrictions. Eight of Eight of Swords. Okay. So, and that's something that's very classic in these cases because it allows them to implement things that are there to protect us, seemingly. And it makes sense in that moment because what has happened is so horrible and horrific. Let me check the chat and make sure you guys are still here with me. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate. Yes, years ago, the same thing happened in a cafe pub in the Netherlands. Yeah. Yeah. And but this seems to the cards seem to say that there is a little bit of a tie to something that is a little bit deeper. And when we speak about deeper, it's not like these people in hoods are there doing their thing and it's not a conscious human decision. It's almost like we reflexively react on bigger streams of consciousness, of entities, of awareness that flow through us. So it's not something that is absolutely consciously done, right? When we're speaking about these kind of events. Um, this feels like one of those where something else kind of took over. It's also strange because the kids that were there, they didn't take it seriously. Not for quite a while, which is how they ended up getting trapped in the bar, is because they were videoing it, they were loading that video up, and I guess in that situation, you don't really think, hey, you're being trapped here, and you need to look for a way out. You think that, oh, it's going to pass. You think somebody's going to take out something, and that's going to be the story highlight of New Year's. Oh, there was a fire, but they got it out. You don't really think this is your last night here, and yeah. So it's all these things, strange things that added up to this horrific tragedy. Okay. Next, the thing that I wanted to dive into, and I'll do this also really quick, is the Mercosur deal. And I'm only touching this because Spirit pointed it out when I was doing the January prediction. And I saw uprisings or protests in Europe. And like I said, that's what's happening right now is farmers are protesting in Ireland and in France and I think in Poland and other countries as well, not in Germany. And what is this about? Well, the let me pull up my notes here 1 second. The Mercosur deal. It refers to a free trade agreement. So there is this free trade agreement that is happening now between the European Union and the Mercosur bloc. And the Mercosur bloc are the South American countries that include Brazil, Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay, and Bolivia might be coming into it. And so this is one of the largest trade agreements that the EU has negotiated, and it seeks to lower the or reduce tariffs and open markets between Europe and South America. So obviously, they also want to do that because they want to get away from the US, right? And the US chokehold. So the deal has been in because the US has also very, crazy tariffs for Europe. So the deal has been in negotiation though for decades, and it was recently partially approved, and it still needs final approval from the European Parliament. And so the farmers are protesting this in addition to how their this one outbreak of cattle disease is being dealt with. I think they found one sick cow and they wanted to slaughter 200 cows as a result of that. And so for the farmers that own those cows, this is a they can sign off, some of them. So, but what they're worried about is competition from cheaper imports, right? So cheaper meat coming from South America, and that it wouldn't be farm to table anymore, and that it also wouldn't be farm like their income, like it wouldn't, be it wouldn't be worth it being a farmer anymore. And they're sincerely worried about food standards and safety because up here in Europe we have very strict food laws and food standard laws, and they are upheld. And but they're worried that in under other countries the corruption is too big and that these standards won't be upheld. And they also see it as just nobody paying attention or caring about local farmers, right? So they're not feeling seen or heard, and they want to make themselves seen or heard. And we'll see how this works out. France has already backed down and said they wouldn't sign it. I think the Netherlands or Ireland has backed down, one of the two also, and said they wouldn't sign it. But Italy's going to sign this deal. Germany has already agreed to it, along with Spain. Yeah. And so because the majority has agreed to it, it's likely to go forward. So that would open the EU markets to cheaper imports, food imports from these southern countries. They're also worried because the food production standards and what's put into the food might not be as high quality as what we're used to up till now. So it's a pretty big deal, and they're going to be pushing for it. I see that continuing, that it doesn't go through, but again, Europe is trying to become way more independent from the US than they have been, and this is part of that independence push. So I I I don't know how successful they're going to be. I do see them continuing to push for it not going through, but I don't think it's going to be successful because of this independence drive. Which brings me right to Greenland and Trump in Greenland. So is Greenland going to be, and I'm checking off all these. So Crans Montana, Greenland. Whoa. Okay, Greenland is a topic, and let's dive in because a lot of people don't realize how old this topic is. Like, Greenland goes way back. And let's start off in 1867. This was the same year the US bought Alaska. And they explored back then, buying Greenland and Iceland as well. And the logic was, of course, Arctic control and trade routes. And then in 1910, there was a secret US Denmark Germany land swap concept floated, but it was never realized. Then in 1946, a year after the war, when they realized during the war, oh, we really need this piece of land, the US formally offered 100 million in gold to Denmark for Greenland, and Denmark said no. During the Cold War, the US didn't really need ownership because it started building bases. It built the Thule Air Base, which is now called Pituffik Space Base. They have missile detection there, Arctic radar, early warning systems. And mind you, Greenland is not the only place that they have all this, right? So I remember when I was living in Halifax, Canada, and there were all these talks about these secret bases, or that the US had a secret base in Halifax as well for the same reasons. Halifax is a huge natural harbor, and people often wondered, why isn't this the big harbor? Because it's actually the first point of contact in the Atlantic. And the Titanic, when the Titanic sank, all the rescue missions went out from Halifax. There's a huge Titanic cemetery there as well, and museum, a shipping museum, and so on and so forth. It's not the easiest stretch of water, apparently, lots of black rock. I'm not a sailor, but that's what I learned. And but it's still one of the biggest natural harbors that is the first point. So it's, people say that the US would never leave that just to Canada, right? And right across from Halifax, about a couple hours ferry. I think it's 4 or 5 hours ferry from Halifax to Boston. So you'd think that would be another big harbor, but whatever. Anyways, but they say that there's a secret US base there, and there have been UFO sightings in and around Halifax. There are tons of UFO stories. There's also a UFO museum actually in a small town just outside of Halifax for the one big UFO sighting that a whole village saw a UFO. And nowadays they're wondering if it really was a UFO or something that was coming from one of these secret bases that the Americans had there. Anyways, so back to Greenland. So in 2019, Trump's offer wasn't a joke or random. It was he was reactivating like this long-standing idea that they needed Greenland to maintain their protection, maintain their boundaries. So it's about Greenland, this land sitting between North America, Europe, and Russia. And let me just share a map with you. Not that I need to, but for those that are watching this after, it looks prettier. I know you guys know where Greenland is. I am fully aware. But yeah, so let me see here. Da da da. Google Maps. And Greenland is huge. It is a huge chunk of rock and ice, massive. And it sits right here. As you can see, the Earth is round. So they can sail from Russia to Canada or the US, or the US can do it. And you can also cross right over to China, right? Going over here. And so this has always been seen as a part of North America, clearly, obvious reasons. And they want it. And do I think they're going to get it? Yes, they are. They are. Do I think it's going to initiate World War III? No, it's not. And is it going to break down NATO? Yes, it completely is. But there is no NATO anyways, because there's no NATO without the US. So that's unfortunately a truth. And Yeah. So Greenland is, and I mean, look at how big it is from here to here, and it's as big as North America almost, if this is an accurate map to scale. But if you look at this, you could, whoa, it's a continent. Huh. Okay. So in any case, they can plant early warning systems there, space and satellite tracking, Arctic airspace. Greenland, of course, has also rare earth minerals, uranium, zinc, iron, possibly oil and gas offshore. It can cut Asia-Europe shipping times by weeks, so it would undermine Suez and Panama chokeholds. And the rare earth minerals that everybody's talking about, China currently dominates rare earth supply chains. So the US cannot and will not allow Greenland's minerals to fall under Chinese control. And Chinese and Russia already tried to get Greenland, and it was blocked by Denmark and the US. So, why is it so important now? Because of global warming. That's why it's become such a big, huge deal, because the global sea levels are rising and the North Atlantic currents are. And Greenland's ice sheet affects all that, the global sea levels, North Atlantic currents, the weather systems in Europe, all of that. So, they're all telling Trump to go ahead and do this. The Pentagon is the Arctic Command and Space Forces, defense contractors, think tanks such as RAND and CSIS, energy and mining interests, people, national security hawks, and Trump talks about it, but to be fair to him, not that we need to be, but still, since we're trying to be neutral here, but the truth is that Biden quietly expanded US military presence instead of talking about it. He just pushed more money towards Greenland. So Greenland, though, traditionally, what a lot of people don't know, they don't want to be a part of Denmark or the EU either. They're not Denmark, not culturally nor politically, and they have a strong independence movement. And because Greenland is so hard to live on, Denmark subsidizes Greenland heavily. So it's a huge money drain on Denmark to keep Greenland, actually. And so it's the US is thinking, if we throw money at Denmark, then maybe Denmark will let go of Greenland. But nope, 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 nope. So when Trump says that China and Russia could take over Greenland, what does he mean? Because a lot of people think, oh, well, if China and Russia march in and plant their flag on the land, then that would signal a world war. But no, that's not how they would do it. So China's preferred method is to go into places like they're doing in Africa and make infrastructure investments. So build airports, hospitals, schools, mining projects, ports, research stations. Utilize the debt and present a real commercial presence. And I mean, they tried that in so many countries. They tried that in the US, they tried that in Canada, in Europe. They started buying up all these companies. Remember that time when everybody was talking, all these hotels are Chinese owned, stuff like that. So China tried that quietly for a while, but Denmark and the US blocked all of it. And Russia has a different angle from what I've been reading. They want to militarize the Arctic. They want to control the sea routes. They want to pressure NATO because they want NATO to be fractured. They want to break NATO apart. That's what they want. So they don't really care about owning Greenland. It doesn't matter to them this way or that. And they just want NATO fractured. That's what I've been reading. So, what the US really wants is to ensure that Greenland never aligns with China. And because it's just too close for comfort, they want to keep Denmark dependent on US security. So, for that, they will also have to break apart the EU and NATO. They want to expand US military footprint without, they don't really want to own Greenland. They just want to have very strong influence over it, kind of like Puerto Rico, sort of. Although Puerto Rico is the 51st state, right? Um, they want to shape Greenland's future independence so it defaults to the US. And they will likely do this with expanded agreements, long-term defense treaties, economic leverage, quiet political influence. So it's going to become the 52nd state of the US, right? But people are like, well, they can't just go and do that because Europe's going to stand up. How? With what? With what? Europe is now just now rebuilding their armies, rebuilding their military structures because for a long time Europe did rely on the US to back it. But this was part of agreements post World War II because the US was invested in having Europe as a bulwark, as an in-between, as a for an empire, right? A pit stop, a forward base, if you will, in their battle against Russia. And so they were investing. The US is all over Germany, for example, right? Almost after post World War II, there was an American base in almost every single town, village with people over 500 people. They had a small US base. And they called it the re-education kind of thing, you know? Long story, long story. So now Germany is intricately tied on multiple levels, familial business, all of that with the US. So this fallout is really painful on multiple levels. But anyways, the agreements were that Germany was to have a reduced military force post World War II. It was only allowed to have a defensive force post World War II, and the actual defense would come from the US. That was the agreement. Now it's all over like, oh, Germany's like dragging, they're not taking care of their own. They expect us to come and fight their wars. No, no, actually, Germany doesn't even want to do anything, they have nothing to do with any of this. And so Europe is now rebuilding slowly but surely its defense force, its military force. And they're not in a position to defend Denmark at all against the US if the US decided to go and say we're going to take Greenland. So there's nothing anybody can really do. And this is why it will happen. Anyways, let me get back to the chat and see if you guys are still with me. Yeah. Some say Greenland will decide by voting. Oh, Twinkly D, that's so cute. That is really cute, but no, no, that's not gonna happen. No. They can vote all they want. Um, you know, and the votes might be rigged. Sure, they might put on a show of a vote. Absolutely, but uh it is going to happen. It's just a matter of time. And let's see, Greenland and the US. Greenland and the US. And the same thing with Canada. We can have a look at Canada in just a sec because Trump really wanted Canada for the same reason, the exact same reason. And a lot of Canadians are acting like that. I found that was really interesting back when, Trump was saying that he's going to annex Canada because I thought that was incredible because Canadians, from the way I experienced it living there and being part Canadian myself, they don't really, I don't know. I never got the impression that they had a really strong identity, a really strong Canadian identity in that sense. Um, it was more along the lines of I happen to live in Canada, but it wasn't like with the same power as saying I'm an American or I'm a French person or what have you. So it's like he's now given them this identity that they didn't even have before, because before a lot of Canadians would have done a lot to live and work in the US. So now, not so much. Now, not at all. Not so much at all. But let's see. We'll have a look at Canada in just 1 second. So what's going on with Greenland? Yeah, Greenland's deeply divided about this. They're deeply disappointed. We see literally Greenland popping up here, this rock, and strength and endurance. And yes, that is exactly Greenland. There's this thin strip of green all around the outer edge. The rest is rock and ice. Absolutely unlivable. And we see here the Five of Cups. Yeah, that it's a hard life there. And the ocean, shipwrecks, but also the disappointment that it's 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 not going to be enough. They already know it's not going to be enough. They need more strength. They're going to be slapped with a lot of money. That's what America can do. 10 of coins. It's going to be that if you are in Greenland, there's going to be some kind of compensation, there's going to be some kind of benefits, there's going to be some way, different business agreements, so that if you have a business agreement in Greenland, or you open up a business in Greenland, mining business, what have you, you can, if you go work there, you're going to make a ton of money. Like Greenland is going to be like green backed. That's what they want. That's what they want. And what the US wants is actual total, and I spoke about this in another video, total control of North and South continents, North and South American continents completely. They want that zone, they want that corridor. And they don't have to have the whole burden of running all these countries and all these places, but being head of the zone, they can do that. And that's what they want. And the world is moving into zoning. And we've heard about these zones in the book 1984. The technocrats who Elon Musk's father belonged to this group called the technocrats. And they spoke about zoning, that the world had to be divided into zones. And their zones was also North and South America as the American zone, the African zone, European zone, the Asian zone, and Australia. So that's what they're going for. And that's Venezuela, that's Greenland, that's the Mexico soon. They're going to be focusing on Mexico. Yeah. That's not a if, but when. But when. And Mexico is going to take a little bit more, but they're going to do that. So the next, what this isn't with Greenland is this is not going to go away. This is the catacombs. So it's not going to be buried. It's not going to go away. It's not going to disappear. It's not going to die. Nope. Nope. Not going to happen. And the next outcome is, yeah, the emperor. So the empire literally is going to take over and build this wall. It's going to be part of the defense wall, the defense of North America. And the outcome is, yep, they're going to plant their flag. It's a cerebral decision. And the red color makes me think of China. And I keep saying to you guys that the actual focus of the United States is not the Middle East anymore. It's not Russia anymore. That's why they're pulling out slowly out of Europe, gently, bit by bit. And it's not that Russia is completely off the plate, but it's almost off the plate because their main focus is China. That's what the American empire is focused on. And they even said it in this not well watched, and I'll look it up, I'll try to find it again and post it in the link below. But there was a talk before Congress. I forget who it was, what it was, but that was their topic, was that they're, I really have to post it. Sorry, I can't tell you anymore. So I'll find it and I'll post it, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But they said that their main focus is China. Everything else is fallen off the table, and everything else that they're doing is just putting the pieces into place. So they need all these loose ends squared away. They need all these loose ends tied up. It's not, the end game is not Venezuela and Venezuelan oil. The end game is not Greenland and its minerals. The end game is China. And America is not about to go down a pathway of letting themselves be, yeah, dying as an empire. Like they don't want to do that. No surprise. So anyways, moving onward to the authoritarianism. the authoritarianism and the rise of authoritarianism and why it's rising. Do, do, do. So there are four points that I feel are important here. One is because they're doing really well. They did a really good job at making people fight to live. And the whole psychology behind what's happening with the pharma industry and the work culture and all of it. I mean, when you think about it, in the US, a lot of women have their children, and after 6 weeks, they go back to work. And I kept saying that, like, even a dog is treated better, right? If you go to a reputable dog breeder and you see that there's this puppy that you want to have, if it's a good dog breeder, you're not going to get that puppy under 3 months. It's not going to happen. Anybody that has a dog, let me know, right? If this is a good dog breeder. And so a 6-week-old puppy, they're going to be very hesitant to give you that. But mothers of human beings are expected to hand over their 6-week-old child so that they can go back to work full time. And this is so bad that it's seen as normal. Like it's seen as normal. It breaks their hearts, it disrupts the bonding, all of it, but people don't fight it. They're too busy trying to survive. They don't have the means to fight for their rights because if they lose their job, then what are they going to do? So, all these little things that they've been doing um, have been wild in making people very afraid of living life. And we're not supposed to be afraid of living life. That's not what supposed to be life is supposed to be about. And yet we're here in a constant state of varying shades of fear, from the anxiety epidemic, the mental health epidemic, through a fear, right? Full on panic attacks. How many kids are writing or talking about them going into panic attacks? How are you going into panic attack as a child, right? Like, or as a teenager? Like we are so far off track, it's not even funny. So this fear that they've constantly been breeding in order to get us to do what they need us to do to make them wealthy and rich and not have to do what we have to do has created in us this deep need for security because we never had it. We never had that security or that feeling that everything is going to be okay, that feeling that everything is going to be safe, that feeling that I can just wake up in the morning and the world is going to be all right. So they tell us it's our fault because we're not doing this and this and this, right? And so we're willing now as a collective, no matter where you go, it doesn't matter, to trade off freedom for security. We're willing to give away bits of our freedom to get that feeling that life is okay. It's safe to be alive. It's safe to live because they've undermined our basic understanding that life is okay to live, that it is okay to be alive, that you are safe, that you are good. And yes, life ends, but that's a natural cycle and it's not a bad thing. And so that's one thing. They're utilizing that against us nonstop in spades. I mean, just look at the insurance industry. We pay so much money for the event that something could happen, which most of the time doesn't happen. And yet we're paying for that. And when it actually does happen, they fight us to pay for what we've been paying for to keep us safe from what could happen. And it's just insane. It's gotten to the point of absolute insanity. And we live in it as if it's normal, but it's not. It's really, really, really not. So we've got the security for freedom trade-off. Authoritarianism, point number one. They get in. They get in. We need more rules. We need more regulations. We need to determine this and that. Then they manufacture a disillusionment with democracy. And I spoke about that in the beginning, where they set up two clowns as candidates and say, this is the best that we have, right? And then always, every single time, it doesn't matter which side you vote for, the promises that were made in the elections are not kept. And even though people know that the promises are unlikely to be kept, there's still this small sliver seed of hope, right? Because hope dies last. And they take even that. So now we trade freedom for security. We're disillusioned with democracy. And we're starting to think that maybe it just takes one guy and his team to just clean things up because it's gotten so bad for all of us. Like we can't see the forest for the trees. There's too much happening, too many fires burning at the same time. So then they dive into it's chaotic. It's chaos everywhere. How is like stop and sit and think. How is it chaotic? And when I'm saying chaotic, I'm speaking about migration. I'm speaking about people moving. If we all belong on this planet and on Earth, if the animals on the ground don't recognize boundaries or countries or territories, they roam where there is food. That's it. Food that they can eat and access. How do we believe in these artificial boundaries, these artificial territories, which in certain instances were only created 80 years ago? And we act like that's the way it's always been going back to the Stone Ages. There are people still alive today that have experienced a completely different alignment of countries, of agreements and alliances. And yet we walk in this bubble as if this is all there is. This has always been the way it is, so we need to defend it and fight for it because it's a part of our identity. It's a part of who we see ourselves as. But this identity is a complete artificial construct. A lot of people don't know, for example, the Black Forest in Germany is an artificial construct. Even Germans don't know. They published a book, it's like this thick, explaining how the Black Forest was created, was artificially created. And so back in the 15, 16, 1700s, whatever, Germany had a lot of forest, and German forests were all, what do you call that again? When in English, sometimes my English goes, as you guys have noticed, when the leaves fall in the winter, those trees. So all their forests were really thick. It was foggy. The Romans hated it because it was like a subtropical kind of temperate kind of, murky mess, and they would often get ambushed in it. But it wasn't all pine needle trees. No, no, no. Those came later, after Germany had chopped down all their wood, which Putin still makes jokes about today, by the way, had chopped down all their wood and sold their wood to England and to Russia, so England and Russia could build their navies. Seemed like a great deal. But what they didn't factor in back then was that trees take a long time to grow, these kind of trees. And so they planted pine needle trees because these pine needle trees grew back way faster. And they would reach maturity within a time and quick, under 10 years. And so they also planted the trees way too tightly. So it changed the ground, the plants that were growing, because the pine needles fell and it made the ground too acidic. And so certain plants couldn't grow anymore. The trees were too close to one another, so they weren't getting enough nutrients or sunlight, so they got sick. And so they learned over time to space it out. But most of the forests in Germany are absolutely managed forests. There are no wild forests like in Canada or in the US where no human being has walked, like nobody for centuries ever. These most of them are managed, and the Black Forest is definitely one of those managed places. And so it was rebuilt after everything was chopped down and it was rebuilt with pine needles. And so it sat there for, a couple of years. And then they had industrialism in Germany, and people were really wanting to get back to nature. We see the same drive today. People want to leave New York and get out into Montana or what have you. So back then it was the same thing. Industrial areas became uncool because they were dirty, they were loud, blah, blah, blah. And people wanted to get back to nature. So the Black Forest started to be sold as this place to go. At the same time, these two French guys were walking through the Black Forest. And those of you that know the Black Forest cake or the Black Forest hat, the one with the red balls, pom-poms on it. Well, these two French guys, 1800, whatever the heck, 90s or whatever, they're writing this book about southern towns in Germany. And so they're going through all these little towns. And there was one town with like 5 inhabitants. And this was the only town where this young girl was wearing this, what is now a traditional, but it's not, black forest hat with the pom-poms on it. And I think the original pom-poms were black or what have you. And all of a sudden it became this thing because of that book. The Black Forest cake actually came from Austria, not from the Black Forest. So that's a whole other thing that got imported. But then they started with movies and films, and just like in the US, they had these, Wild West movies or what have you, or these other movies, going to Italy or what in the 60s, you name it, as the place to be. Back then it was the Black Forest. So they literally artificially created it and marketed it as a retreat area for the wealthy, and then it took on its own life from there. So same thing with the traditional dress, right? So when you guys think of the Oktoberfest, right, or the beer fest in Germany, in Munich, and you think of people wearing their dirndls and their leather pants, this is also not original German wear at all. It was created in the mid 19th century, 1850s, 1860s, as clothes for wealthy Germans. Um, in part for the Oktoberfest, because actually wearing them to the Oktoberfest wasn't a thing until the 1970s, 80s, around there. That's when people started wearing them to the Oktoberfest. Before that, it wasn't a thing. And but these dirndl leather pants kind of thing, it was a direct response to Napoleon and the French fashion, because remember, Napoleon ran over Europe and they were kind of stinky with him for doing that. So French fashion became pew-pewed, and they decided to create their own. And that's what you're seeing nowadays as this traditional German dress that goes back centuries, whatever. So, anyways, this whole identity is concocted. That's what I'm trying to say here. Whether we're looking at the national identities of whichever country you're looking at, it's a story. It's a story that we tell each other over years. And eventually it sinks in as dogma. It only needs one generation, and then it's ancient, right? So it's 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 been a thing. Anyways, let me check back because I don't want to lose you guys here. Um, and that's if they can afford to take 6 weeks off without pay. Yes, Sonora and Son. Going back to the mother thing in the US and the 6 weeks. Yep. Maria, we have the war here near Ukraine, Romania border. I'm really afraid Europe's not ready to expand that war with Russia, but they're pushing for it at the same time, which is really crazy to me. So it's not set in stone yet. It's not the Fool card is what came up. It's I don't feel that you have to worry at all, at all, at all. No, no. No. And the funny thing is that, this whole thing about Russia and Putin and the Ukraine, I don't even want to get into that because that is such a convoluted back and forth, but part of it, not all of it, certainly not all of it. Part of it boils down to the fact that Russia simply doesn't want NATO or the EU on its doorstep. The same thing that Trump is saying, which is why he wants Greenland. He doesn't want them on his doorstep. He loves them, he says, but he doesn't need them right there. Oh, so Russia has told the EU and NATO for a long time to stop pushing their soldiers towards their borders. And the US has troops right up in Poland all along the border. So again, I don't even want to get into it here because I'll go way off track. Anything more on the Iranian Revolution? That ties in, actually, there's a whole overlap with that, with the Iranian Revolution. That's another thing is interesting because there's a lot of instigation there. They want Iran to revolt, and it keeps kind of dying down, but it's gonna flare up. It's going to flare up again. And I feel honestly, Iran is going to it's going to open up again. And I felt that there's this golden age coming for the Middle East. And it's going to be, I think I said that in the January reading. I'm not quite sure. Or for the 2026. There's this golden age coming for the Middle East, but it's a blink of an eye in the overall time frame. It's going to be for a moment where we think, oh wow, you know, and actually images started coming out of street musicians playing Western music in Iran and um, young Iranian people, women without hijabs, without head coverings, just looking like a regular Western city. People were sitting around and listening to them and singing along. And I think they were playing some kind of an American group. I forget which one, but it was really beautiful to see. And yeah, so they're going to have a moment. And the government doesn't really want to do anything about it at this moment because they want to retain the people, but it's not going to last. It's not going to last. It's not going to last. So they're going to have to fight for their freedom 100%. And for some reason, I'm getting, I don't know why. I don't know how this makes sense. I don't need to. As an oracle, I don't need to get it, right? But I'm getting that the US is having a hard time getting people in there. Okay. I don't know why. They're having a hard time getting agents in there or getting people to getting information in or out, like something's going on. And they're having a somewhat of a tricky time doing that right now. Okay. So, oh yeah, now back to authoritarianism. So we had the disillusionment with democracy and trust. We had the security for freedom. Another thing is nation building as a premise for control. And that's why I told you that whole long story about these concocted identities that are being upheld to go against migrants, which they brought in the first place, right? So this whole nonsense, they're creating an issue that isn't even there to begin with because the whole foundation of it is already BS. The whole nation idea, the whole concept of cultures, even though they're very pretty, and yes, I hope every culture, you know, stays around or that is retained because it's a beautiful, to me, artistic expression of a collective perception or experience, but it comes and it goes. That's why we had so many different cultures going through China over time. We're not meant to hold on to this. We're not meant to be necromancers, constantly looking to the past and worshiping what is dead or trying to reanimate what is dead. We're meant to enjoy the moment and this expression and then let that pass and let a new expression come up and out and in its fullest. So yes, that means now they're discovering, for example, that the original Europeans were dark-skinned people. I'm not saying, let's hear me now. I'm not saying African. I'm saying that they were dark-skinned. And that is scientific fact, apparently. You can look it up, right? The original Europeans were dark-skinned people. And then that shifted because the white skinned people, what we term white skin, they actually came out of northern India, that area, and traveled across to Europe and blah, blah, blah. Everything happened from there. But the original Europeans that they then took over were darker skinned. So it's everything changes over time. So this constant fear mongering instead of educating people on these natural cycles of flow, right? Of natural life flow and life changes, that everything changes all the time. It's very useful to certain groups, of course. Very, very useful. And the divide and conquer group, I mean, it's clear. Because when we're fighting each other, we can't fight them. And so they can go rent Venice for their weddings because why not? They can go fly up in space and then tell you about carbon tax because why not? Right? And the next point, the last point, is the power of international alliances. So this is truly a problem for democracy, right? So if you're dealing with an authoritarian regime, but you're an authentic democratic society, you are at a disadvantage. And because from a democratic point of view, you have to first go through certain steps. You have to gain permissions and follow these steps and these things and this and that. Whereas in an authoritarian regime, somebody just makes a decision. So if you're dealing with that, then you need to be dealing on the same level. Otherwise, at some point, the stronger one wins or the quicker one wins. And so democracy, the American version of it, compared to, for example, Chinese situation, is at a disadvantage. And you can see that. Not to tout these Chinese system, like no way, shape, or form am I standing up for any system that is currently in place on Earth. But looking at the difficulties that Americans have to get anything done for them, right? From healthcare through education, through work environments, work style, so on and so forth. And then you look at China, not that China's perfect by no means whatsoever, but you're looking at the basic ish things that we need to live. And it seems like China is not doing a bad job on that. I don't know. So, yeah. So those are the main reasons why I see people are exhausted and why I see authoritarianism coming up. The unfortunate thing is with authoritarianism and the shadow of authoritarianism is that gender equality regresses. So gender equality is stalling and going backwards for 1 billion women and girls. And I think Americans can sing a song about that right now because most of them are still in shock about what is changing and what is happening and how far they had come. And now it's all going, it's like a yo-yo just flying backwards. So there's actually no country on earth, right? No country on earth that is on track for equality, for female male equality. And remember that equality doesn't mean equal in the sense of the same. It means equal in the sense of same value, right? So it's there's no country that is on track for that. And of course, countries like Germany, and I could say a lot about the feminine stuff and the female problem in Germany, but I won't get into that. But it's or North America, right? It's still there. It's still an issue. It's definitely still an issue. We don't have to go too far to find all these things which point to the inequality of women and men. And it's now regressing. It's now going backwards. So the dismal scenario, according to this report, and let me just share that with you because this is important. You should know this. So the SDG Gender Index published by Equal Measures 2030, a coalition of NGOs, has found that no country has so far achieved the promise of gender equality envisioned by the UN's 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. And I keep talking about 2030 and that we are absolutely on track for that, but this is not one of their highest priorities. So between 2019 and 2022, nearly 40% of countries home to more than 1 billion women and girls stagnated or declined on gender equality. So the report said the dismal scenario means global gender inequality could be worse in 2030 than when the goals were set in 2015, as armed conflict, accelerating climate breakdown, anti-gender campaigns, and threats to democracy stall or reverse progress. If current trends continue, equality will not be achieved until the 22nd century. And then it goes into Taliban, Afghanistan, all of that. Poland and the US. Um, yeah. So it's on The Guardian. You can read that. When was it written? Last year in 2024. So it's not too old. Okay. And this goes directly hand in hand with, oh, was I sharing that with you? No. Okay. I'm sorry. I thought I was sharing with you. You guys, I'm so sorry. So here, the article is from September 4th, 2024. Gender equality stalling or going backwards. Dismal lack of progress leaves women and girls facing litany of abuses with no country on track for equality. 2019, 2022, 40% of countries stagnated or declined. The report said the dismal scenario means global gender inequality could be worse in 2030. Poland and the US have taken regressive steps, and so on and so forth. So it's, yeah, yeah. So you guys, and of course the question then says, so what do we do? And it's what we've always done. What we've always done as a humanity, as humanity, as a group, is we have to learn to stick together. So whatever is keeping you from, all those years where it was cool to be, I'm independent, I'm on my own. And even back then I was saying independence is not a thing. People don't buy into it. It is not a thing. It is absolute crap. When I hear all these girls that were going on Facebook and TikTok, I'm so independent. And that song Miss Independence, which was, I think it was abuse. In all honesty, I think it was absolute abuse, because how can you be independent as a mother? You are dependent on your grandparents, you're dependent on teachers, you're dependent on the school bus driver, you're dependent on nurses and doctors, you're dependent on society. Like, how do you train women to go through the battlefield by themselves? That's incredibly misogynist to me. And but people bought into it. They bought into it. And this whole I don't need nobody and so on and so forth, but it creates a sick society and it creates a divided society. And that's exactly what they wanted. A divided society that they're able to rule. So how do we go against this? I'm sorry to say that sit-ins and protests are not going to do much, right? So the peaceful path has come and gone. That worked back in the day. It's not going to work today at all. It's not going to do anything. It's going to assuage your conscience. It's not going to change anything. Fighting for your rights is not going to do anything either, although that's what they want. And that's where people are being pushed to the edge of being able to handle it, being able to live in this condition. And it's going to make them more emotionally volatile. They're going to lash out more. You're going to see more and more and more of that happening. Even amongst people, of course, amongst people that are put there to keep the peace, supposedly, right? But there are going to be some agents and players in there that are going to be driving things along, you best believe. But that's exactly what they want. So that's not going to help either, because that's going to allow them to place more restrictions, limitations, push us even more into a box. And I'm speaking very clearly here because I spoke clearly years ago, and for some reason, nobody listened. Nobody listens to me. But in any case, they're going to continue to do that. So the only thing that helps is we have to get back to that space where all of this is just nonsense, where all the divisionary, you're Mexican, I'm American, you're Turkish, I'm German, you're Muslim, I'm Christian, like all of that is just noise and nonsense. And the first thing is I'm human, you're human. Let's work together, because there's nowhere to go. There's literally nowhere to go. Where are you going to go? This is it. This is the rock you're on. This is the life you were given to live for a reason. And we're here to create God's plan on earth. And what's happening is that natural connection to God's plan on earth has been hijacked. It's been interfered with. It's been twisted around. It's been reconnected to something else's plan for what is to happen on this earth. And we keep manifesting that. So our job now is to reconnect to the divine, reconnect to God, and then reconnect to each other, and not worry about that other plan. Not worry about that other plan. And not, it's of course, show up. If you want to go to a protest or whatever, show up, strengthen that energy for sure, right? Keep it peaceful. I'm not inciting here. I'm not at all, because a non-peaceful protest is definitely not going to help the cause. But it's going to further the other cause, actually. But what's really going to help is if we are undivided. And that is a huge problem, because a lot of people, they don't care about other people anymore. They literally do not care. They don't care. And so what you can do in your own way is look at where you're holding back, where you're not connecting with other people, where you're not trusting other people. I there is so much has changed from when I was a kid to now. Like there's literally zero trust in another human being. And we think most of the time the worst of other people before we think the best. We don't give the benefit of the doubt anymore. Everything is scary, everything is spooky for a lot of people. Um, we have to get away from that. We have to get away from that. And it's not going to happen overnight, but if we take one step towards the universe in your personal life, but also in this bigger issue, the universe is going to come towards you. God, the energy, the consciousness of life itself is going to support and going to bring things together, flow back together again. And it'll work out. It really, it my fingers are crossed. Let's put it that way. Okay. But there is no other way that's going to help. There is none. The bureaucracy, the machine, the entity, it's too, we've let it get too big and we've let it get too controlling. Okay, so let me get to your questions now, specifically towards your life. The link is in the description box at the in the chat box all the way at the top. So if you have any questions for you and you want me to pull a card here, I am more than happy to do that. Just go right ahead and let me see here. Thank you, Maria. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much for being with me, you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I want to thank everybody for their support over the years that have been with me. And somebody dropped a comment on one of my videos that I posted briefly before, and they said that they're really sad that I'm only sharing my new channel with Patreonies. The new channel I'll share with everybody in a couple months once I've gotten the child to walk and it's safe. But I do have some concerns around some things that I feel are part of this channel, which I don't necessarily want to bring over to the next one. So that's why I'm keeping it behind a protective wall. But if you would like to know the channel, send me an email, shoot me an email. I'll definitely send you the link and you can support me there too. I would love to see you there as well. And otherwise, head on, we're on my Patreon. My Patreon, I am doing a live, by the way, next week, I think January 13th, where I'm closing off the no, not 13th. When am I doing this? 20th or something, where I'm closing off the Saturn series because I did a series on Saturn and how Saturn is actually feminine and she's an initiatrix, not at all what we've been taught as the male that is limiting and wants to eat its children. Not true, not true, not true. And I will be showing there how we can read that in the charts. So if you are interested in that, and if that is something that you feel you can use in your own readings moving forward, join me over there. It's going to be open for all. Okay. So, but after I'm done with it, I'm closing it off. So it becomes part of the series completely. Okay. Great. Create new. Wow, I had just had a conversation with my aunt about the lack of trust in society. Yeah. Yeah, for real, real. Yeah. Okay, let me get to your questions. Thank you guys so much for your support. And again, if you would like me to answer a question, the link is in the description, in the chat box all the way at the top. And Erin, do you see any romantic opportunities for me in 2026, please? Someone worthwhile. By the way, Erin, I'll be sending you an email. I have a date for because the channeling I'll be doing on February 17th, Chinese New Year. So if you're interested, join me then. And I'll send you an email on that though, please. So thank you. Karleen, do you see any romantic opportunities for me in 2026 for Erin? 2026, what's it bringing? 2026, like I said, is definitely a year where things can move ahead. If you know how to surf the energies and ride the wave in that sense and release what you need to release in order to ride the wave, then it can carry you anywhere. But it moves very quickly and you have to, it's like a roller coaster. You have to be on it. You have to be present, you have to be in it. You take the moment and run with it. Don't hesitate, don't think about it, don't question it, don't wonder, is this real? No, run with it. So there's some kind of a life decision that's coming up for you. Yeah. And apparently you've already met your person according to these cards. Okay. So this is someone who you will have an emotional connection with. Your inner child is going to feel very, very safe. But you have a decision, Aaron, that is coming up that's going to bring you on track. And we see that here with the Seven of Cups. So you see this little boat out on the waters, and it's looking up at these seven stars, and it's trying to decide which star am I going to follow, which is the right one for me. And so you've got that decision how you're going to go about this, and if you're going to, because this is an action as well, like it's a decision to take a specific action for a specific outcome. And the next card you have is the Six of Cups. So now we're in the daytime, so you made some kind of a decision, and it's connected to your child, your inner child. So this could be that, you just follow your inner child, your playfulness. Someone flirts with you, you just flirt back without thinking about it. There's not much thought in the Six of Cups. It's just experiencing. And it feels like this is going to be a real connection on a deeper level, whether your inner children come together. But you have to make a choice, the King of Swords. And the person that is for you is also someone who's in the King of Swords territory or realm. So medical, law, that kind of thing. Okay. But there is an opportunity for you. There is a window of opportunity, but you have to make the choice to move in that direction. Okay. So whatever you're doing now, change it. Make a choice, because yeah, change it. Okay. So start going out more, start find a hobby and connect with that. Um, get yourself amongst other people. Okay. But yes, the window of opportunity is there, but you have to be willing to go beyond yourself. Alrighty. Moving on, Nora. Um, is Peter my person, and will I end up with him, or is there someone else, or will I end up alone? Oh, never had a relationship, would love to have my family and a kid. 30 is still young. Like, you're still young nowadays anyways. 30 is the new, I don't know, 15. It's like, I mean, look at women that are in their 50s now, you know? You still got time, Nora, but let's have a look. But don't feel like your gate is closing, or your time is, you are so young. Let's see, Nora, please. Yeah. So you're deeply intuitive, Nora. You're deeply intuitive. We've got the High Priestess, and we've also got the Queen of Wands. So the Queen of Wands and the High Priestess is you also take action on your intuition, right? And this is really, really, really good. Queen of Wands and intuition. Awesome. So what's going on? Six of Swords. There's going to be some kind of learning opportunity. There's going to be some kind of learning opportunity. The Six of Swords is indicating learning. It's indicating also it could be a move involved. So moving where you're living. So it feels like it's saying first there's some kind of a move happening, or some kind of learning opportunity, possibly both, that is happening. Then we've got the Page of Coins, and then a long, solid friendship. This may be an earth sign, Taurus or Capricorn, I'm picking up. Okay. Not picking up Virgo, it's Taurus or Capricorn. So someone who's really in the financial realm or in the financial world. This may be someone who helps you with your money, helps you with your investments, something like that. Not quite sure. But it feels like there's something coming up. But the one that you're thinking about that is on your mind, there is a potential with Page of Coins. But either you're waiting for him to give you a solid offer, or he's waiting for you. But this can be a long wait if both of you don't move. And there's a lot of air and earth here. So I this one's tricky. I'm feeling like you're holding back, even though you're someone to usually you act on your intuition. You're the Queen of Wands. Or you need to be that. You need to take a step forward. Okay. So, but the outcome is a beautiful yes. This is the Ace of Swords. Your intuition will lead you proper. The step that you take will be the right one, and it's going to lead you onto the right path. And you're going to do what you need to do, what you're supposed to do. And it's going to be a new opportunity, a new potential, a new possibility that opens up. So I'm not quite sure about the PTAR person that you're asking about. I'm not feeling that for you. I'm feeling someone who's very supportive of you, who's very they notice the little things about you and support you in the little things as well. This is someone who's educated. There's something around education with this guy. Or person. I don't know if they're studying or if they're, or you meet them studying or what have you. But there's something around that. Okay. And but this is someone who's very grounded, who's very stable, who's very sure. Okay. And this is also the person that's going to make a marriage proposal. Okay. To you. All right. Then Danny, my son wants to go kickboxing. Cute. Yes, it's an awesome idea for him to go. So it says, my son wants to go kickboxing. It's a trial session. It went well, but I'm a bit nervous. He's very sensitive and has a lot of anger. Is it a good idea for him to go? Absolutely. Absolutely. Where he learns to harness that anger, channel that anger, where he has a vent for that anger. That's the thing. Men need anger. Okay. You ladies that are training women and raising boys. I don't want to be that person, but the boy mom thing has led to us women not being able to find any men that are men. So yeah, let him go. Let him learn how to deal with his anger. And they need it. Anger is also a drive. It's also something that propels. It's yeah, right? So they just have to learn how to channel it. So don't cut him off. We see here the Queen of Swords. Don't overthink things, right? And then cut him off. Okay, don't do that. Let him live. Let him live. Okay. And that's said with so much love and from one sister to another. Okay. So much love. Yeah. Yeah. Let him live. Let him live. Yeah. It's going to work out just fine. Six of Wands. So very successful, very victorious. It'll help him in the world, the devil. It'll help him in the world. And here we have the Page of Coins as well, learning, studying. And because the pages, they learn and they study, right? So he's going to learn something that's going to help him in the world and it's going to make him victorious and strong. So, yes, that was a clear message from the cards. Go for it. Okay. All right, you guys, I hope that you have a wonderful week ahead. And of course, write to me during the week or drop comments about topics that you want to see in next week's live, which I will post right away as soon as I'm done with this. And I will see you on the next one. Let me just make sure that was it for today. And for those of you that are supportive, thank you so, so much. It is so, so appreciated. Okay. Talk to you soon. Bye.